your body, apart from having all of its physical intelligences, also has emotional intelligence. And we have emotions, and emotions are how we communicate. Animals communicate with their emotions. And we're born with the capacity for a full range of emotions. But they're not special to us. Getting angry, getting sad, being happy, feeling love and joy and hate and shame and guilt. It's part of the package that, well, we're born with. That's the way it is. And our emotions come out in a certain sequence. When a baby's born, it has no fears. It has no sense of self. And it can be frightened, it can be startled, it can scare it, and it can cry, but it can't even be angry. It can just be afraid. In the first 6 months. And then around age 6 months, our body has developed enough that we can actually get angry. And then what happens is there's two possibilities. One is you're raised in a family, in a society, by parents that know themselves, they're clear, they're happy, they're balanced, they're not repressed in any way, which means you're 6 months old and one day you discover you can get angry and you start screaming and kicking and having your whatever, and your parents just let you do it, and they just, because they know that it'll pass. Or parents get nervous, upset, bothered, and they force the child to be quiet. And this is what's been happening throughout all cultures, all modern cultures, for hundreds, for thousands of years, is that children are not allowed to express themselves fully. The crying baby is hushed. And the baby learns that it has to control its emotions. And typically, the parent has to use anger or violence to hush the child. So the baby's screaming, and the mother or the father scream louder and scare it, or hit it, or pinch it, or shake it. And scares the baby because there's this idea that was put out, and there was a German psychologist by the name of Gottlieb that wrote a paper on this and made this very popular. And he said, parents, if you don't train your children properly, they will turn into wild animals. They'll become alcoholics and rapists and drug addicts and horrible people, and you must block them. And they must learn how to control themselves, other they'll be like crazy wild animals. And the truth is the exact opposite. It's our repression of our emotions that makes us go mad. There are a series of repressions that we go through. One of them is emotional repression, and the other one is a sexual repression. And between our physical, emotional repression and our sexual repressions, this is what drives us crazy into our heads, and it's the root cause. So I'm going to address the easiest one to go through first, which is emotional, and then I'll address the sexual problems that come up. Okay? So the thing about emotions is that emotions are, emotion, energy, and motion. It's a nice way to describe it, right? So it's the energy of our life that's coming through our bodies, and it's how we express if we're happy, if we're sad, if we're angry, if something's happening. All animals express and communicate through emotions. You can know if a dog is happy or unhappy. You meet a bear in the woods, and you know if that bear wants to take your head off, or if it wants to run away, or if it just doesn't care. Because you can tell it, because it's either just sitting there going, or it's like, right? Same with a cat. Meow, meow. Right? You can tell. The cat's not happy. So we have the capacity to do that, except that it's not normal. When's the last time you hissed at someone? Somebody started saying something, and you started going, do that and go do that in Why Not and see how people respond to it. But wouldn't that be all you need? Like if you look, you'd be like, okay.
Like a cat.
Yeah, well, but cats are healthy. It's humans that are mad. The rest of the animals are healthy. So there's a balance that needs to happen, and the balance is as follows. Our emotions. Have you ever seen? You've seen a rainbow, right? So you have light go through a glass prism, and when the white light comes through, a rainbow comes out the other end. Isn't that true? Yeah, you can see a picture of that, right? Do you know what happens if you take a rainbow and you put a rainbow through a prism? what comes out the other end? White light. Yeah, so if you put white light through a prism, the light diffracts and a rainbow comes out. So I got to get a picture of it, but you take two prisms, one like this, inverted, right? You put a white light through one, a rainbow comes out. The rainbow goes into the other prism, and white light comes out the other side. Yeah? And if you decide that red is a bad color because it's angry, so you take it out. And orange is lusty and naughty and sexual, so you're just going to delete that. And blue is depressing, and you only want the green and the orange, and you don't want the yellow. If you eliminate one of those colors, what do you think happens? Do you think if I put a rainbow minus the red light through a prism that I'm going to get pure white light on the other end? You're not going to get so. So imagine your body, the prism, and the energy of life, the white light. And that body comes out through your body. That energy gets expressed through your emotions. So it either comes out in the color of laughter or in the color of anger. Right? It comes out as joy or pleasure or anger or hatred, happiness or unhappiness. Right? And it's pure. The colors come out. The mind is the second prism. We are taught psychologically that there are positive emotions and negative emotions. Resourceful states and unresourceful emotional states. That anger is bad, that you shouldn't be angry. That sadness is bad, that you should never be sad. That you should be happy. That you should do things to make yourself happy. Isn't that what people are taught? You were taught most likely to repress, right? Yeah. It's rare that somebody says, I want you to get as angry as possible and break whatever you need to break until you're done. And then I want you to cry, cry, cry. I love you more if you cry. So just cry. I'm not going to touch you. I'm just going to let you cry. People are like, no, don't cry, don't cry, right? And then babies learn. People learn that they can manipulate. They can use their anger or their tears to get what they want, right? And we all know how to do that. Men know how to do that. Women know how to do that. Women can be very good at manipulating men by being very angry and then crying and being so sad. So the guy shows up with a gift, right? And all these political power plays come through how we manipulate and play with our emotions. But the end result is that if you start eliminating certain emotions, if you start cutting colors out of the rainbow because you think they're ugly, that not only will the light that comes through the other end not be white, but it'll be less bright. You mute your emotions. You're filtering out. So if you have a limit as to how angry you allow yourself to get, that means by default, you automatically have a limit as to how happy you're going to allow yourself to be. And if you don't let yourself go sad, there's not going to be much depth to your happiness. Because anger is raw, it's the passion. You mute it, you're muting your passion. And sadness is the depth. So how are you going to love deeply if you can't be angry intensely? If you block any of your emotions at any level, you're blocking all of your emotions. And you're blocking them psychologically. So it's a button on the walkie-talkie that's being pressed that's saying, no emotions, anger is bad, stop that, stop, okay. And then you wonder why you can't be happy. So people are depressed and unhappy and suicidal, and most of it is because they haven't had a chance to get angry for real. You see, when you're this big and you blow up in anger, can you hurt anyone? Really? Are you dangerous when you're this big having a tantrum? You might throw a glass, but you just take anything dangerous out of the child's way. And the child can't hurt itself getting angry. But if you were to get as angry as possible, aren't you afraid that you might hurt yourself or hurt someone? You could kill someone. You could destroy someone. So we mute ourselves. So part of the exercise, part of the work of knowing yourself and being free is being able to create a beautiful space, a safe place that allows you to express the full range of your emotions. Which means you must give yourself permission to get as angry as you need to until it passes. And stay angry. No, don't be angry. Let's find a reason not to get angry. With me, I want you to get angry. I want you to sit there and get angry. And if you pay me, I'll even pinch you and slap you to get you more angry. Because you need to be able to break out of your repressions. Because repressed emotions are poisonous and toxic. Emotions aren't supposed to be repressed. Emotions are supposed to just flow through you. And if you're angry and you need to row, you do it 100%, and then you're done. And it goes away, and it feels really good. Same if you need to be sad. Why do you stop yourself from being sad? What if there was a beautiful diamond of insight, of wisdom, of beauty, of joy, down at the deepest sadness, down at the bottom of your worst fear, of your greatest hatred and anger, at the very... What if there was something of tremendous value and you're avoiding it because you're scared of it, or because you've been taught or you've conditioned yourself that you're not supposed to get angry? So there's exercises you can do to release your angers and your sadnesses. See, most people are focused on being happy. So they do happy yogas and happy meditations, and they chant happiness mantras and, feathers and bindis, and make everything extra beautiful as a distraction from not being angry or sad or depressed or unhappy. And I learned how to do that, and then one day I thought, what if I get angry? What's going to happen? All right, well, first, let's get angry in a place where I won't hurt anyone. I don't want to hurt anyone. And what if I get angry with this cushion and I kill it? Just hit it. Wow! And you just do that over and over and over again in a safe way until nothing else comes out. And you're done. It comes out. Same with sadness. You find a beautiful place and you think of all the saddest things. You remember all the saddest things, and you let yourself get sad and cry and sink deeper and deeper and deeper like you're drowning in it. And then whoop, you pop out the other side with a smile that you just can't even imagine. You feel so good because you've cleared out your anger, and that took you to your greatest anger, took you to your greatest sadness, because anger and sadness are the same energies in a slightly different form. Anger is repressed sadness that's never come out. And sadness is repressed anger, and anger is expressed sadness. And if you allow yourself to go all the way through, you bring your adult, mature awareness. Right? So the person that is, the awareness, the intelligence that is sitting right here, curious about these things, listening to me right now. Do you know all of your anger and your sadness and your shame and your guilt and your fear, like you know how many toes you have? Then you're missing out. And it's probably the most important work that you can do on yourself, apart from having a body that gets exercised and stretched and eats well and swims and dances and does all the fun things in life. You want to have a full range of emotions. Because once you are conscious and aware of your full range of emotions, you're free from them. And when you're free from them, your mind stops controlling. And it quiets down, your body relaxes, your heart opens, and now you can be in a state of love that's sustainable. Because most people are, some people are happier, some people are go-lucky, most people are kind of a little bit down, a little depressed, trying to put on a good face, trying to have fun, right? You see people, you go to the parties, and people are trying to have fun. Sometimes it's a little harder, so they have a few drinks, or they have a few smokes, or they have a few snorts, or they, do something, and then that distracts them, right? And then somebody shows up, and, they're pretty and sexy and fun, and they tickle you and pinch you and pay attention to you, so you temporarily get distracted, and now you're full of life and feeling happy and good. But there's a deeper layer. There's a sadness, and there's anger, and there's confusion, and there's anxiety, and there's stress, isn't there? If you have an honest look at yourself, you're probably going to find these things. Most people are. And we try to avoid them. Well, the secret is to go into them. Now, there's the right way to do it and the wrong way to do it. And I'm going to describe what I consider to be the right way to do it. For me, the right way to do it is to do it as an adventure. Do it as a journey. Do it as a trip. Do it as an exploration. So before I want to explore my emotions, my angers, my sadness, my fear, my shame, my guilt, my lust, my anxiety, my stress, I want to make sure that I've eaten well and that my blood sugar levels are stable, that I'm well hydrated. I want to make sure I'm in a beautiful place. I'm going to put myself in through a dark experience. I'm going to go into a yucky space. If you were going to wake up from a nightmare, from a bad nightmare, your worst nightmare, would you want to wake up in a dirty bungalow with a clogged toilet, with no food in your refrigerator, with neighbors that are shouting and screaming? Or would you want to wake up in a beautiful place with flowers, where you can get a massage, where the food's natural and organic, where no one's going to bother you? If anything, people are going to be nice to you, right? That's what I prefer. So I recommend doing this kind of work of exploring yourself and releasing your emotions alone or with other people that are also doing it, but with the intention of, let's create a beautiful place. So you clean your house first. And clean the house, clean the toilet, get a sponge, get some soap, get some detergent, get on your hands and knees and scrub. And you're going to see that your angers are going to start coming out while you're scrubbing and cleaning. There's a stain on the side of the toilet that's been there forever that nobody cares about. The trash cans smell. It's just clean, 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 clean. And now your house is clean. And now you take a shower, you clean yourself, and now jump into your deepest, darkest, scariest, worst emotions. But you've prepared food ahead of time, so if there's a nice soup waiting on the stove or in the refrigerator, right? You ordered your favorite food, you made it. You prepared yourself for a journey. You're going to go down into the deepest, darkest minds, and you're going to come out with gold nuggets. You're going to come out with diamonds, with gems. But you're going to come out dirty and tired. So you're going to want to have a place where no one's going to bother you, where you can take it, right? You can eat some yummy food, you can sleep in a clean bed. And this will help you process and clear out the emotion. So when you can have all of your emotions, the rainbow of emotions, the whole range, and you're aware of it, and you know what it's like to be 1% angry or 100% angry, 1% sad, 100% sad, all of your emotions, there's a range. When you're aware of your conscious range, it's like that's the prism. It's your awareness and acceptance of it. And what comes out is the pure white light of bliss, of love. Now, everyone can experience a moment of love. I'm sure you have experienced a moment of love. But did it last? How long did it last? You have moments of happiness. Everybody has a moment of happiness. But then it goes away. Why does it go away? And I'm going to say that part of why it goes away is because there are negative, so-called negative emotions underneath that are trying to come out. So you have a moment of bliss, of love, of ecstasy, by yourself, in a crowd, alone, with a glass of water, whatever you're doing. And you have this moment of feeling amazing and awesome and connected and loving, and you found your soulmate, and everything's great. And then 1 minute, 1 day, 1 hour, 1 month, 1 year later, you're miserable again. And the question is, do you know why you're miserable again? I remember, this was about maybe 18 years ago. I remember one day realizing that I'm at my peak. I'm top of the world, right? I'm at the top of the world. And then a few weeks later, I'm in the deepest, darkest hole, ready to throw myself out of a window. How the hell did I get down here? And then a week later, 2 weeks later, I'm at the top of the world again. And then a few weeks later, I'm down at the bottom again. And I was like, so I asked myself, I was like, how is it that I miss? Like, how do I get from here to here? How do I drop that far, right? I mean, the stock market is doing this, it goes up and then crashes. I've got this crash, this emotional crash. How do I get so low? Why is it that I don't realize that I'm down here until I'm down here? So I thought, what if I redefine things? What if when I'm present, when I'm at my peak, I turn on an extra sensor. I become aware of when it starts to go down. And I catch myself before I'm miserable, before I'm suffering. So I'm in bliss, I'm in ecstasy, and now I'm suffering. How did I get from here to here? It's not like I'd suddenly fell through a hole. Like a week went by. I must have worked my way down. I must not have been paying attention to what was happening. And what happens is you have a moment of freedom, of bliss. Your mind's off, and then your mind turns on, and it starts. Well, the fears start up, the negativities, the anger, the sadness, the sorrow, the guilt, the shame, the whatever it is that's built up there. It starts to build up, and then the mind starts to repress it. So you start pushing against yourself. It starts to come up, and you start pushing it down. You start distracting it and pushing, and then it uses up all your energy, and then you just collapse, and suddenly there you are at the bottom of a hole, and everything's messed up again. By paying attention, I was able to catch myself going up. I start going down. Catch myself, bring myself up, catch myself. Right?
But does it mean that the higher you get on the one side, the lower you get?
The lower you can get on the other. Yeah. Right. Well, if you do anything to make yourself happy, you will unconsciously make yourself at least equally, if not more, unhappy in some other way. Because mind is dualistic.
Is it the normal?
That's normal. So here's the trick. You shouldn't have to do anything to be happy. You should wake up happy for no reason. If you're not waking up completely happy, balanced, ready to go create, ready to go out and find your soulmate and make millions, it's because you're missing out. You're out of balance and alignment. These plants, these trees, the birds, the fish, they're not doing anything to make themselves happy. They are effortlessly happy. You know why? Because they're not doing anything to try to be happy. And when they're unhappy, they're just unhappy, and they don't apologize. You ever meet an angry dog? It's not going to apologize for being angry. It's just going to be angry, and when it's finished, it's done, and now it doesn't have to be angry anymore. But people are trying to force a smile. I'm so happy. I'm so happy for you. You won the lottery, and I didn't. I'm so happy for you. I could hug you. Look. Right? There's anger and jealousy and envy and all this yuckiness that's happening. And part of why it's happening is because we've been told that it's bad. So, there's a theory as to why there's so much hatred in the world. And the theory is that the reason there's so much violence and so much hatred in the world is because everybody is teaching about love. Movies and poems and stories and everything is love, love, love. Love your mother, love your parents, love your friends, love everyone, love unconditionally. And everything is mental projections and stories about what love is supposed to be. And love has nothing to do with the mind. Love only happens when your mind is off. Love is something that comes through when you're not pressing the button on the... Even if you're, reciting and memorizing Rumi poems, that's not love. Romeo and Juliet, that's not love. Right? Samson and Delilah, that's not love. Those are stories about love. And if you do something to be happy or to love, then your unconscious mind is going to do 10 times more to be unhappy and to hate. So people should be taught how to hate. Children should be taught how to hate safely so that they know how to do it, and then you don't do it. Unless there's a good reason to, and then if there's something hateable, like somebody wants to come in here and try to hurt my family, I absolutely hate that, and I'm going to defend that with everything I've got. I'm not going to be bad because I used my anger to protect my family from some crazy person. I'll do my best not to hurt them more than I need to, but I'm going to take that person out. And if all I need to do is slap them, that's enough. And if I got to cut their head off, I'll cut their head off. But I won't let somebody come and hurt my family for no reason. Right? Does that make sense? And that will be an appropriate response. So, the solution is, first, read the Emotional Wellness book from Osho. It's really well written. It has lots of great information. It has nothing to do with him. It's basically how our emotions work. And when you understand how they work and you understand how they don't work, you just simply stop doing things. Poking your eyes out does not make you see better. Repressing your anger does not make you happy. Distracting your sadness does not make you happy. It just simply adds more noise, and it prevents the natural happiness from coming up. Emotions are something that you should never have to think about. Ever. Just like if I want to walk, I use my feet. I don't try to walk on my hands. I mean, I can walk here on my hands a few steps, and I've taken, 10 steps on my hands and felt really great about that. But I'm not going to walk across the beach or try to climb a mountain or walk into a business meeting walking on my hands. I mean, if I'm a Cirque du Soleil performer, okay, that's part of my job, right? But I'm going to walk home afterwards. I'm not going to stay on my hands. So I'm not going to use my mind for emotions. It's not for that. It's the wrong tool. Just like I'm not going to try to use these glasses as a hammer because it's not going to work out. I can't use these as a hammer or a screwdriver. I can use them as glasses. Right? And I'm not going to try to use a screwdriver as glasses because I'll poke my eyes out. They're not going to work. So I'm not using my mind for lots of things. And one of the things I'm not using my mind is to tell this body what to do. I'm going to read ingredients to make sure I'm not accidentally poisoning myself, but this body's going to eat what it wants to eat. And I'm not going to use this mind to control my emotions of this body because that's how you get sick. That's how you get crazy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my mind to create an environment where I can safely take out my repressed and trapped emotions. Which means I'm going to write and scribble and draw and scratch things out and tear things up and burn them because I'm full of anger or sadness. I'm going to write them out in cursive writing. I'm going to date them and sign them, and I'm going to release this anger I have towards my brother, my sister, my mother, my father, my uncle, baby Jesus, whoever. Like, whoever you're angry at, go be angry at them. Give yourself, there's someone or something you hate, give yourself permission to hate with all your guts. But, don't go hurt the person, just put it on paper. Write a story about how you cut them into little pieces and feed them to the jellyfish. If that's what you need to do to clear yourself, and then burn it. Release it and burn it. Get it out of your body. Anger needs to be punched out, kicked out, screamed out. Bite a towel and scream into a towel until you can't scream anymore. At least into a towel you won't hurt your throat. Or put your head underwater in the ocean or in the swimming pool. Nobody can hear you. The fish don't mind. Scream. Ah! And come back out. Think about something that you just hate, something that makes you so angry, so frustrated. Put your head underwater and scream. When's the last time you screamed with all of your energy? Right? Now, your emotion is going to be repressed based on how many times you've done it. So I'm going to tell you a couple of true stories about repressed emotion. The first thing I'm going to tell you is that it took me, from the moment I started doing this, I was in my 40s until my 30s until I finished. It took me about 12 years to clear all of my emotions out. It took me a long time. I didn't know how to do it. I had to figure it out, and I didn't have the Osho book. One day I decided I'm just going to start clearing them out. So it took me a long time. Jantra, younger than I am, has been through some pretty intense things. She was born in a war zone between Thailand and Cambodia. Her parents were very violent with her. She was sold into slavery 6 times by her parents. And she's had some yucky things happen to her. So she had to clear herself out. It took her about a year to clear out a lifetime of very ugly things that happened to her. And Nampu, our daughter, is actually the daughter of Jantra's younger sister, who abandoned her and treated her very poorly and left her with the violent, alcoholic, gambling grandparents. And when she was 5 years old, she had cuts and wounds on her legs that took 6 months to heal because she had poisons from the foods, the junk food that she was given. She had 4 teeth in her mouth that were rotting that had to be pulled out. And she was full of fear and anger and anxiety. She would bite. You'd have to pinch her for her to pay any attention to you. She just was completely... And then she would go into these things where if things got too intense around her, her eyes would roll over her head, drool would come out of her mouth, and she would just stand like this. And we brought her here. And I studied her for a few days, and around day 3, I said, Nampu, I want you to show me your monster. And we started playing this game where I would have her shout and scream, and I would have things for her to break. 3 weeks, she cleared out the first 5 years of her life. About a month later, she was like, you have a rough thing on your nails. Can you? And I was like, oh, yeah, I do. And then I finished. She checked me. She goes, can you tickle me here? Sensitive, delicate, full dynamic range of emotions. So it takes a 5-year-old 3 weeks to 3 months to clear themselves out. It takes an adult about 3 months to 3 years to clear themselves out. Whatever angers, sadness, fears, guilt, shames that you have, you're going to keep them until you're unconscious, and they're going to control you and affect you and limit you until you take the time to explore them and bring them out. And just let yourself be angry, and let yourself be sad, and let yourself hate, and let yourself feel everything. And then the happiness and the love and the joy, that comes by itself. You don't have to do anything to be happy. You just have to stop doing things that make you unhappy. So then it's very easy to know which way to go, because you come close to someone and that person makes you feel very uncomfortable and very unhappy. So then you move away from them. Not complicated. Or you get a job doing something that makes you very unhealthy, very unhappy. So you just don't do that. You go find a place. You just sniff around and feel and find a place where you're with people that... And if you can't find anyone, you're happy alone, because you don't need anything or anyone to be happy. Discovering that you can be balanced, centered, feeling good in a body that's tingling, like everything's yummy and your heart's open and life is just full of possibilities, alone for no reason. How's that for a way to wake up? It's your birthright. You can wake up that way. All you got to do is clear your body physically, emotionally, mentally, and have the right resources, the right money to create what you need, and you can have this. Because you look at these plants that are flowering, they're not unhappy. How can they get unhappy? Well, they don't get enough water. You give them a little water, they're instantly happy. As soon as they have what they need, they're fine. If your body is well rested, well slept, well stretched, your emotions are clear, you don't have anything from your past. I have no stories from my past. There's no sadness. There's no sorrow. There's no guilt. I did it. I cleaned it. It took me a lot of work, but I did it. And once I was done, I was free. And because I know my anger, I know my sadness, I know my shame, I know my guilt, I know when I'm being naughty, I know when I'm being good. I've studied it. I accept it. I can tell when other people are like that too. Because you can see it, you can feel it, you can almost smell. You can sense their aura, the vibration, however you want to call it. We have ways of sensing other people, and you can sense when you're with someone that's authentically happy and relaxed and feeling good and having fun. And you can tell when you're with somebody that's there's an unhappiness or an anger or a sorrow underneath, right? I mean, I'm sure many times you haven't been 100%, but it's a party, it's somebody's birthday or something's happening, so yeah, you put on a happy face and then you go. But deep down inside, you're really not that happy, right? So you're going to stay that way until you actually go inside and find out why. And 90% of it will be things you picked up as a child when you didn't know better. You're like a sponge, right? Everyone's born like a pure, clean, white sponge. And if you put a clean, white sponge in pure white water and you take it out and it dries, that's still a clean, white sponge, right? But if you put it in dirty water, once it dries, it's a dirty sponge. So you have to take it out of that environment. So we're emotionally polluted. So we have physical toxins, heavy metals, but we've also created heavy emotions. We've put an idea that anger is bad or sadness is bad. And what if it isn't? And what if it's the only thing that's preventing you from being happy is that you have a belief or an idea, or you accepted that you're not supposed to be angry, you're not supposed to be sad, you're not supposed to show your emotions, you're not supposed to do any of those things. And what if it's true, you're not supposed to go around bothering people with your emotions, but you can create a clean space where you can clean yourself up, and then you can go out. And then you can find people that are also balanced and healthy, and then you can spend time with them, because it's much more fun. Guaranteed. After I cleared myself emotionally, the first thing I did, soon after that I met Jantra, I bought her the book, and I was like, you should clear yourself emotionally. And I created a space to help her clear herself emotionally. And I'll give you a hint, it doesn't stop at the individual. It goes a little bit deeper. I did the work to clear myself. It took me many years to be fully clear, and then I found the book, and once I read the book, and I was like, okay, got it. I know how to stay here. And then it took Jantra about 6 months to clear herself. Solid, almost a year, but 6 months before she felt really solid about herself as an individual having cleared out all these negative, toxic, emotional things that happened to her. And we've been together since the day we met. And we realized that there was an anger and a sadness that we were feeling that we didn't understand where it was coming from. I personally alone didn't feel angry or sad, and she personally alone didn't feel angry or sad, but together there was something that was coming up. So we decided to do some research on this. So here's how we did our research. We decided that we were going to work on our anger, but we were going to address the anger together as a team, saying, I can't find this within me. If I sit quietly alone, I have no reason to be angry. But when I'm with you, things come up. So what is it? So we cleaned the house. We prepared some food. We got ourselves ready for an anger day, right? Then we prepared some Mimi food, brought some flowers. I filled the bathtub, bubble bath, chocolate, champagne. Get in the bathtub, get naked, get in the bathtub, start fighting.
Really?
That's the place to fight. Fight in the bathtub, eating strawberries, chocolate, sipping champagne, naked in a bubble bath, and now listening to nice music. And now I want you to tell me exactly how you feel about me. And I'm going to tell you how I feel and how would I get angry about it. And we got through that. And then I was like, okay, now I want you to slap me. She's like, what? I go, slap me. Come on, slap me. I'm going to slap you, so you're going to better slap me back. She's like, I was like, I slapped her. She got so angry. She slapped me back. And then we laughed, and it cleared. We did it once a week for 8 months. And I think what we were clearing is we've been clearing the collective anger between men and women, I think probably since Adam slapped Eve for giving him a bad apple. Ever since men and women have been fighting like cats and dogs. And it turned out to be the most intelligent, the healthiest, the most beautiful thing we've done because we resolved 99% of all of our angers and problems and issues. In the last 10 years, yeah, things come up, of course. There's things to get angry about. But it rarely have to do with emotions. And it's not repressed emotions. It's just cultural things that come up. So there's things that we're going to have absorbed in our collective unconscious that we do to keep ourselves unhappy as individuals. Because if you don't do anything and you live properly, this is a happy universe. In the East, people say that this is Maya, the dream world, and that what's happening is Lila, a big celebration. It's a big happy dream that's happening. And we're the only ones that can't seem to align with this big, beautiful party that's going on. And the truth is that I see the plants and the flowers and the butterflies, even the mosquito, even the cockroach in the kitchen trying to sneak in. They're having fun. It's a big party for them. We're the only ones that aren't celebrating. And we're not celebrating because we don't know how. And we don't know how because we've been given ideas about life. And those ideas are out of balance with reality. So I want to give you what I find to be the best definition of bliss and suffering. Okay? For me, suffering is when your ideas are out of alignment with reality. You're going to suffer. And the way you live your life and what you think and what you feel and what you do is out of alignment with reality, you're going to end up suffering. And bliss is what happens when my ideas, how I live my life, and everything that I do is in alignment with reality. Because a reality is having fun. Reality is a celebration. The rainbows, the butterflies, the birds, the naughty monkeys trying to sneak into the kitchen in the mornings, and all that stuff that's going on. That's all part of the fun. And if you're not having fun, it's because you're not keeping up. And what's the first thing you can do to hold yourself is to decide that anger is bad, or sadness is bad, or sex is bad. But anger is a part of life. You look at two crabs, they're angry, go bother some bees or some ants, red ants, and see they get angry. They just attack you. They kill them. They'll die trying to protect their hive with fury, right? I remember seeing this beautiful book by this publishing company called Taschen. It's a book this big, and it's about wildlife and animals. And the most impressive picture, like it really made sense for me, is a picture of a bear. like a black bear, a Kodiak bear, right? No, sorry, it was a grizzly bear. And it's two bears. There's a grizzly baby cub and something that must be its mother or its father. The cub is big like this, and the other thing's gigantic. The cub is in this position. It's standing in front of its mother like this. And its hair, everything is going back. It's just like this. And the mother or the father is leaning in on it going, "Rah." It's just rah, roaring at it. And the baby's just sitting there. And it's using anger to teach that child that it's going the wrong way. It's not being a good bear. It's not repressed. And that bear will do the same thing to its child. And we adults can be doing the same thing. There's no reason why you can't roar at someone. If they need to hear it, you roar at them.
How's that different from when parents express their anger towards
Right. So
the child
right. So the difference is if the parent is doing it from repressed anger, it's going to be violent and dangerous, and they're going to feel guilty and shame, and it'll be yucky. The entire experience will be yucky. But if the parent is doing it from a purely open-hearted, unrepressed, in the moment, wow, and it's going to be beautiful. See, the problem is the repression of the anger.
Yeah, I mean from the child's perspective.
From the child's perspective, the child is going to receive the imprint of the repression as well. And the anger is going to be more than, because typically the adult ends up hurting the child. The bear isn't going to hurt its cub. The bear's going to roar at it, but what does a bear have to roar at? The bear can roar at its cub, but it's not going to bite it. It's not going to knock its head off. The parent, if it's repressed, is going to hurt the child. There's going to be anger. There's going to be hatred. There's a difference when you can be angry with love. As a matter of fact, true love only happens when you can be angry, because there's reasons to be angry. When you love someone, you can be angry at them. If they need that anger to grow or to protect them and to help them, then you show that anger. That's part of compassion. Putting that energy out because the person needs it. It's very different than trying to pacify the person and trying to keep them happy. When you care about someone, sometimes you need to give them a slap. Sometimes you need to shake them. Sometimes you need to roar at them. I'm not saying you need to punch them, stab them, or shoot them, cut them into pieces, but you do need to be able to express your anger correctly. The problem we have is that because we're repressed, we're afraid. We can't manage or control our anger. So we can get too angry. And we can go overboard. If we go too far, that's when we hurt the person. And the child imprints that. But the child imprints is that you use an excess of force and violence to get your way, and it's repressed. And then the child will repeat this, and it will pass on. What the child needs is to be with parents that are unrepressed. There's very few things that a child can do that requires you to get angry, much less be violent, much less hurt the child. Whereas a child, why would you ever have to hurt a child? Now, my daughter is slightly out of reach at the side of the road. A bus is coming, and she's going to get killed, and I will kick her out of the way as hard as I need to. And later, I might need to take her to get stitches and buy her an ice cream cone. But it's not because I'm angry. It's because I'm trying to save her life. There's a difference, right? And I won't get angry. I'll just boom, pull her, grab her, throw her, kick her, push her, right? It's different. So the only way to know, I'm not asking you to believe anything I'm saying, but the only way to know is to give yourself the experience of knowing your anger fully. As many times as you need to till you get it and you understand how it works, what it is and how it works. You need full conscious awareness and acceptance of your full dynamic range of all of your emotions, and you are then emotionally free for life. For life. I do not have to wonder or worry about, why am I angry? Why am I sad? What's wrong with me? What's the matter? What's wrong with here? Why is this like that? I wish I could do this. I'm trying to change this. I want this person to do this and they won't, and I'm so angry. This doesn't happen to me for a very, very, very long time. About 13 years now. Because I cleared it out. So for 13 years, I can tell you that if I feel angry, it's exactly the right amount of anger, and then I don't stay angry. I use it on my staff. People in this part of the world have a technique for getting out of doing things. They play dumb. I don't understand. Like a jack. I don't understand. And then they do things once or twice. And then finally I'm like, wow, why do you not get that? Is your brain working? What's the matter with you? Figure it out or get the out. That's it. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, hey, can you help me? And I don't stay angry. Then they go talk to, well, don't worry about boss. He doesn't stay angry. He just shows you he just tells you the way you need to hear it. Yeah? I let you know if you're crossing a boundary. I let you know that you're this far away from getting into trouble. So I'd start growling. Now you know. I don't need to get more angry than that. Enough information has been communicated. Right? As a result, I'm very hard to have a fight with. Because first, I'm not repressed. You can't trigger me to be angry with you. And then if I want to fight, I'm 100%. So I'm just ready to destroy you. And the other person feels it because I'm not repressed. I don't need to repress myself. I'm just natural, spontaneous. And my baseline, I wake up happy and relaxed, ready to have fun. But I like to fight too. So if you want to have a good fight, put on some gloves. I'll kick your ass. And if you kick mine, I'll thank you for and ask for a chance to do it again so I can kick yours. But not because I'm repressed, not because I need someone to take my anger out on. I don't have any anger to take out on anyone because I took it out already on a pillow, a towel. You know those big yoga balls? Have someone grab a yoga ball and then kick it as hard as you can, as often as you can, until you can't kick it anymore. And then just lay there and breathe and do your breathing exercise. Clear your mind. You want to reach a place of emotional freedom, full dynamic range. It makes all the difference in the world. Does that make sense? And only you can know if you have anger hidden inside. So start writing down, and you want to be able to know what it's like to be 100% angry and 100% sad. Then you can know what it's like to be 100% happy. But if you do something to make yourself 100% happy, you're going to end up 100% unhappy. Because of you're doing something. It's not natural. It's not happening by itself. You shouldn't need to manage your state, your emotional state. You should wake up in a so-called beautiful state always. As a matter of fact, if you need to be angry, you should be angry in a beautiful way. You need to be sad, you need to be beautifully sad. It can be. When it's 100% natural, authentic, it's part of nature. It's beautiful. Everything in nature is beautiful. We've created systems of ideas and beliefs and values where we say, we decide this is good, this is bad. This is, divine, godly, Buddha, enlightened behavior. This is animalistic and bad, and you should never be angry, and you should never be this. You should always be happy, and you should always be balanced. It's false. And you don't have to believe me. You can just try it for yourself. Because it's by actually going into it that it releases. This is how you release your anger, by releasing it somewhere. So taking it out on something. Chantra had some serious anger issues to take out because she was born in a war zone. So she would take a machete and go out and kill a dead tree. And with a knife, you should see her with a knife. She's scary with a knife. She's like, wow. But she'd do it, and then she'd sit down and cry and write things down and burn them and go take a bath. And she'd come out and she'd be like fresh. Her eyes are clear. She's all soft. But it happens when there's a release. It doesn't happen if you repress. And the more you repress, the more you're going to have to release later. So it's one of those things where the sooner you start, the sooner you're free. For releasing, for the first step, is to acknowledge it and go, I think I have some. You know what? I know. You have some repressed angers, right? You have something to get angry about somewhere.
sometimes, but I pretty much like very. It's very difficult for me to express emotions and in
Right.
general.
Right.
I'm
That's because there's a
I'm
repression.
very close.
Closed, yeah.
Close person.
Right.
For emotional wise.
Right. So that means, so what that means is, and that's everyone. Everyone's like that to some degree or another. What that means is that you're using, our minds have been conditioned to control our emotions. We're taught that we should love unconditionally. And there's confusion about what that means because some people translate that as whatever happens, you should love. So, and Jesus said that if somebody slaps you, you should turn the other cheek. Well, if somebody slaps you, maybe you should punch them back harder. Right? Why should you turn the other cheek? Maybe they need a good punch in the nose. Right? And then, because we're repressed emotionally, well, you're repressed emotionally. Well, guess what? Your capacity to love is going to be repressed. And then who's going to miss out? You and the person that could be receiving your love. All the people that could be receiving your love. So if you have any repressed emotion anywhere, all of them are repressed. That's the most important thing I want you to understand. Anywhere you're repressing emotions, you're repressing all of the emotions. Right? If you're listening to the sound system and you've got the nice going, you decide that you don't want to hear the bass and you lower the bass, well, the volume of the whole sound went down. And the dance experience won't be the same because you took out the bass, or you took out the treble, or you took out the mid-range because you don't like it. You took it out. You want to have full dynamic range, which means you need to have a safe place to do it. So the first thing is to, apart from reading the book, is to have a notebook where you start writing down everything you're angry about. And you write it in script, in cursive. Then you say, I release this anger. You date it and you sign it. Then you tear that out and you burn it. You read it again, and then you burn it. And then you start again. And you can do this for hours a day. You get a pot, like an old garden pot or something like that, and you keep it near your bungalow, and you have a lighter and some matches and a notebook, and you write things down, and you write, and you just write down how much you hate this person, and, right? Is there anyone you just want to kill? Right? Yeah, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your lover, your whatever, everywhere. You just, and you're not hurting them by doing this. But we are hurting ourselves by repressing our emotions. So the key is to be able to write these things down, and then you burn it. And are you finished? Hell no. You've got years. You just got one anger out. And then it comes up. You do it again. You do it again. You do it again. You do it until you're just like, okay, who cares? Like you're just bored with it. Right? You get to the point where you just, so what? My mama did this. Who cares? Poor woman. It's okay. Might be. Let it go. It stops bothering you. But you need to dig it out. And sometimes you need a thorn to take out a thorn. Right? So this is where it's good to have a good friend. You start to get, like with John Bruce, she has an anger that's trapped in, and her culture is very repressive. You're not supposed to express your angers or your emotions. So I need to ask her, okay, you're angry about something? Come on, I can tell you're angry. Come on. So then I start poking her. Are you trying to get me angry? Yeah, I'm trying to get you angry. I want this anger to come out. Come on, I got to slap. I'm going to slap you. And I give her a little like that. Right? You understand, right? That's a loving thing. I'm not being violent with her. I adore her. But sometimes you just need to shake someone. Get it out. All right, I'm going to be angry with you. That's what I would do with Nampu. I'm angry too. Rah, rah, and then that would help bring it out. Right? So in the book, you're going to find in the back of the book a series of what are called dynamic meditations, which are meditations that are designed to get your body shaking and moving and kicking and screaming. And you can do them alone and you can do them in group. So if you go to any of the Osho ashrams or retreat centers that are left around the world, they're going to have the dynamic meditations, the room where you go in and people just start jumping up and down and screaming and howling, and you jump up and down for a certain amount of time, and then you lay down and you just let yourself Now, if there's no one around to do that with, you just do it by yourself. So you just go out in the water, and you just, in the water, you can punch and kick the water. You can't hurt yourself kicking water, punching water, thrashing around, right? Grabbing your pillow and punching it and biting a towel. And we've got this boxing bag up that looks like a man, right? So you can put a picture of your mother or your father and just punch it. Just like, wow. And just, you go until you cry. And you know you've released your anger well when it turns to sadness, when it results in crying. And you know you're finished crying when it turns into a smile. And I'd spend days just focusing on it. Like I'd be like, okay, I've got some sadness or some anger that needs to come out, and it would build up during the week. And then I'd just stay home on a Saturday at my home because I would work during the week, and I'd stay home and I would just sink into my anger, my sadness, write things down, tear things up. You do it once, you do it twice, you do it 10 times, you do it 50 times, you do it 100 times. One day you're finished. One day you're finished. You want to get to the point where you're finished. And then no matter what happens, you're not angry anymore. You're not carrying anger around. You can be angry. You can certainly feel if somebody else is angry. And you know how to respond. You move out of their way, or you know how to handle them, because you've mastered your emotions. And the only way to master your emotions, the only way to master anything in life, is to be 100% aware and 100% accept that this body came with fingers and toes, that it can kiss, it can bite, it can fart, it can have diarrhea, it can have a headache, it can get angry, it can laugh so hard that it can't breathe, it can cry so hard that it just, right? And once you clear that out, you're free. You really are free. There's a science to it. There's an art to it. It's established. And everyone who goes through our programs, we guide them through it. We help them. If you need someone to be angry with, we can be present with you so you can be angry. Right? If you need someone to help you, shake you a little bit, give you a little pinch, a little slap, then that can be arranged too. Because sometimes you need someone to help you that way. Right? But it has to be in a clear, present. Yeah. Ready? Sparks. Feel the energy come up. The right attempt. So you'll be able to figure it out one way or another. But if you don't figure it out, then you won't figure it out. It's like you have all these pieces of glass in your foot and if you just take painkillers, you don't feel it anymore. But it doesn't take out the glass, and it doesn't prevent the infection that's going to happen later. So anger that is accumulated over a lifetime is going to be like a sickness. It's going to be a poison. And the end result is that you can't just be happy for no reason. Because just clean air, just a glass of water is enough to feel good, to feel happy, to be like slightly tingling. Life is this. And then you go out there and there's all sorts of problems and issues, and people are unhappy, and there's depression and fear and anxiety and stress, and you feel it. You feel it. But you know it's not yours. Because you can look inside and you can go, it's not coming from inside of me. It must be coming from outside of me. All right, who's angry? Who's upset? Who's sad? That person. Why? I don't care. I'm just moving away from them. Or, oh no, I can actually do something about it. And you can come close to them. Yeah. What we're trying to do is we're trying to go back to being natural. Like a baby that cries when it wants to cry. There's a tantrum when it wants to have. You've seen a child. A child has a tantrum, and if you leave it alone, 5 minutes later, it's completely back, clear-eyed, having fun, laughing, giggling, being silly. If you let it. If you repress it, it learns to repress. I learned to repress. And I'll tell you why. I know why I learned to repress. Because when I went in, I felt it. I relived it. I was born into a family that was really hurt and destroyed by World War I, World War II, the Spanish Civil War. My family was hurt. On one side of my family, from Spain, Franco's troops came in, and my great-grandparents were Republicans, and he had his agenda, and my great-grandfather had to escape. My grandmother was imprisoned. She had to escape, and they had to leave Europe, and they went to South America. From another side of the family, my great-great-grandparents were Russian Jews that escaped the Soviet Union, ended up in France, and then got captured by Hitler and died in Auschwitz. My grandfather joined the RAF and went in, was captured by the Germans, was in a POW camp, escaped the POW camp, and was the commanding officer that liberated Auschwitz. On the other side of my family, it's just, and every family has the crazy person, the sick person, the child molester, the pedophile, the murderer. Who doesn't have someone in their family that just crossed a line? So I was born into a sad family. And I was like every other baby. I was ready to laugh and scream and cry and jump up and down and pee on things. And you're just a baby. You're ready to just... And quiet, stop. So and when I was 6 months old, and I would start kicking it. My father would beat me and shake me as a child. So I learned to repress and control and keep tight, and I control my emotions, and I stay tight. Right? Does that make sense? So for me, it's one of the most important things is to make sure that I'm not carrying any heavy metals in my bones, in my blood, in my body, and I don't want any heavy emotions. I don't want any fears, any guilts, any shames, any angers from my past running around controlling my life, because they do. My parents got divorced. There was a certain amount of violence in my upbringing. Cousins who have had suicide attempts, sexual abuse in my family. I think my family was actually quite healthy compared to the people I've worked with. I haven't encountered anyone who hasn't had several of these poisons. Anyone who hasn't been touched wrong, beaten a little too hard, hit a little too hard, right? And when my parents would hit me with anger, with rage, what I was imprinting deep is that I'm no good, that I don't belong, that I'm not supposed to be alive. This was how I was interpreting it as a child. I was taking the blame for it and accepting it, and I'm the one that's wrong, I'm the one that's bad, I'm the one that's dirty, I'm the one that's shameful, I'm a sinner, right? If you're born into a Judeo-Christian world, you're a sinner, and until you get baptized, you're the bad guy. Or you're born in a state of original sin. And all these ideas start coming into your head, and we begin to believe in them because everybody else believes them. We begin to accept them, and they become real for us. And there's something to be said about going in and just clearing them out. Later, once you're clear, if you want to, poison yourself again, up to you. But I don't think you will, right? But if you want to, you can. If I wanted to poison I could be, in one day I could be completely detoxified again if I wanted to. It might take me months to detox myself, but I could re-poison myself. It's just that I don't want to poison myself anymore. I don't want to poison myself any more than I want to poke my eyes out. I certainly never have to stop my hands from trying to. This doesn't happen. So I don't repress my emotions, and I don't eat poisonous foods unless I have. Of course, if I'm in an environment where I'm at a border crossing and the guy at immigrations is just being a big jerk and I just want to punch him in the nose, I won't. I will suppress myself temporarily. Later, when I go outside, I might beat up a pillow instead of him if I have an anger, right? But this whole carrying in and keeping and suppressing anger is poisonous. So the map for figuring out emotional wellness is very well written by this book, Emotional Wellness from Osho. And it's something that you can only do for yourself. I can't do it for you. I can just make sure that I'm not emotionally repressed. That I'm clear up to the date with I understand how I feel about this person or that person. There's people I certainly don't like. I'm not angry with them. I don't come near them. If they come close to me, I step away from them. If they come closer, I tell them to stay away. If they keep coming, I say, if you come close enough for me to hit you, I'm going to hit you. So stay out of range. And then they usually stay out of range because I'm serious. I'm like ready to punch them if they come with it. But I don't stay angry. There's, it's like, what's there to be angry about? I can be angry in the moment. 1%, 99%, 87.5%, whatever amount of anger is required to get from here to here, this body will give the precise amount because it's not repressed. It's not like a pressure cooker waiting to explode. A Coca-Cola bottle that you shake and you open it and it goes. Most people are like that with their emotions, with their anger. If you're like that, find a place, shake that bottle and get it out. Where? Well, safely, somewhere where you're not going to hurt anyone. So put on some boxing gloves, go get up a bag, right? Kill a pillow. Some things you only get out by kicking. You need to kick. Some things you only get out with your hand. Other things you're going to bite. You're just hungry. You just want to shoot something. You ever felt that way? It's part of our animal instincts. And that intelligence is being repressed. And it becomes part of our intuition. And then you intuitively know exactly the right amount of anger, the leverage, the tipping point, to safely pass through whatever you need to pass. It's a very powerful tool. There's no way I would delete anger from my life. But I want to get rid of all repressed anger. And sadness, without my capacity to just drop deeply, deeply into the deepest sadness, there's no way I would ever have experienced the deepest love. I needed to experience my deepest sadness so I could experience my deepest love, because anger and sadness is what gives you the dynamic range. Full rage where you're just ready to rip somebody's head off. Wow, that gives you the full range of your passion, the highest amount of energy you can share with someone. Either to create something or destroy something, but at least you're capable and you know. And I've been in situations where we were in a place where Jantra and I were surrounded by a dozen men that were trying to get to her, and none of them came close because I was ready to kill all 12 of them if I had to. And she was ready too, so we were just safe. Eventually they gave up and walked away. But I wasn't repressed. I was like, I'm in the moment and we're in danger, I'm in danger, my woman's in danger. We're gonna die trying. There wasn't a single cell, there wasn't a hair in my nose, there wasn't any part of my body that wasn't ready to destroy to protect myself and my loved one. And I was able to do it, and it happened here at Eden many years ago. And then just keep dancing afterwards. And then I had several people come by afterwards saying, we watched you, and if they'd attacked, we would have helped you, but you didn't need to. You kept them all off. I just danced. And I was just ready to do whatever needed to be done. Right? And then have a nice breakfast, take a nap, because there's no residual. You want to be like a thunderstorm. And then it's done. Lightning bolt hit, and it's finished. Right? Does that make sense? If I say anything else, I'm just going to repeat myself because it's the same thing.
It doesn't make sense for me. It's just it's for this body.
Yeah.
This is unnatural. I'm not unnatural, but I'm used to.
Right.
To this.
So my guess is, right. So I'm going to share some experience with you. It was for me too. My guess is that violence was used on you, probably by your parents, when you were too little to know, to prevent you from expressing your anger. This is typically what happens. It happens in the first few months, in the first few years of our lives. Anger or violence, bigger anger, was used, and then you're blocked. And it's similar to what happens, for example, here in Thailand. A baby elephant is born, and if you go to an elephant farm, the baby elephants, they're very cute. They're like this big, they weigh like 100 kilos, and they're strong, but they only weigh like 100 kilos, and they're only this big. So they take a rope, they tie a rope to one of its legs, and they stake it to the ground, and the baby elephant pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls, and it can't break the rope. So it gives up. And then later, the elephant is mature, it weighs 10 tons, it can easily pull itself out. It never thinks to, because it loses the ability to even try, because it was already overwhelmed. Yeah? So you can look at how you were raised, how your siblings were raised, how your cousins were raised, the people in your family, and you can ask yourself, do our parents, do our uncles, do our grandparents, do they ever use anger or violence to control the anger in a child or the sadness in a child? And if you look at it, you'll get an answer. For me, it was absolutely. And everyone I've met, the answer has been yes. So then you have to break out of that. You need to give yourself permission to be angry. So you start by writing things down. And of course, you do it in a space where you're obviously not bothering anybody else, because they should be free from having to, you start screaming and throwing things in your bungalow and there's somebody nearby, they won't know what's going on. They'll call the police, or they'll call, they might get upset. But if you can do it in a space where you're not bothering anyone, then you can safely release your anger. And reading the book will give you the information, and you can try the exercises, and you can write things down and burn them. Just doing that will start releasing. I'll teach you something called dream therapy. You can use your dreams to release your fears about your angers, your repressions about your emotions, and just start releasing them in a natural way. And they'll start coming out. And then one day you can be emotionally free. And it's a very beautiful thing to be emotionally free. So I can only recommend it for you.
That would be a great day.
Well, you can do it. You just need to know that it's possible. And we've done it. All three of us are emotionally free, and that makes our lives much easier. But I can tell you the day that my father, with his third family, and my parents divorced when I was 5, and we went out for sushi. And he had a son. I have lots of half-brothers and sisters. And this one was, I don't know, 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old at the time, or something like that. And we were sitting at this little restaurant, and he was complaining about the food and being a little difficult. So my father said, "Come outside, boy, I want to talk to you." And he came back 5 minutes later, and the boy sat down and ate all his food. Delicious. And my father says, very proudly, he says, "It's so wonderful having such an intelligent child. I took this little boy outside and I said to him, you have two choices. You either go into that restaurant and you eat that food and you enjoy it, or I beat the out of you, lock you in the trunk, and when I take you home, then you're really going to get it." And how great it is that he's so intelligent that he just went in and ate his food. Isn't that wonderful? And everybody else was very quiet, and I remembered when he would do that to me. And I was like, never letting you near my kids. Right? But I didn't discover that I had these repressions for decades. It was later that it came out. And then I let it out, and it was a certain amount of work. So the sooner you start letting it out, the sooner it comes out, and then you can be free. And I had it very light. Janta would get beaten until she was unconscious, and then awakened with a bucket of water, and then beaten some more. So when she was 12, she ran away. She got on a bus, and she came to Bangkok to work at a factory at age 12. Because it was safer than being at home with her parents. Right? And Nampu, it took her a while, but took her a little bit of time. But she would get slapped, pinched, hit, beaten. She was this big for the tiniest little thing. So she was very tight and repressed. And you just pull it out. Gently pull it out, pull it out. Create a nice space for yourself, and it's the best thing you can do. If you say, okay, this sounds interesting to me, I want to try it. So I'm going to eat whatever is yummy, and every couple of hours, just a handful of food so I can maintain blood sugar levels. Then I'm going to sit as quietly, as still as I can, and write down everything I need to. Then I'm going to go for a run on the beach, or walk up and down the hill, or go for a swim. I'm going to go for a dance. If some emotion comes up, I'm going to write it down. I'm going to draw it. I'm going to scratch it. I'm going to scribble it. I'm going to write things down and burn them. If I find myself getting angry, I'm going to let myself get angry, and I'm going to beat up a pillow. You want to bite a towel, right? You do this every day, every day, every day, every day, every day. You're going to clear out a lot. Even if you clear 1% out, that means you've got 1% more room to do something lovely. Clear out 10%, 10% more room. It's a question of reclaiming bandwidth. Because all of these repressions are mental repressions. Your mind has been tricked into going against the body. We are all enslaved in our minds, by the ideas, the conditionings, the philosophies, the values of what's right and wrong, good and bad, how we're supposed to live our lives. And if you bought into it 100%, you'd be working in an office, right? Married for the second or third time with 2.3 kids, the house, the picket fence, the car, the this, that, and just living like the robots and the zombies that are out there, all the sheeple that are out there, just. But my feeling is that you've decided that you didn't want to fit in that box, and you've decided to come somewhere where you can be a little more free. At least you can dance, or you can walk around more relaxed, right? You just seem like these kind of people. That's why we're sitting here. I did too, but I figured that I was not just going to get out. I want to master myself. I want to know myself, and that led to all of this. And everything you learn how to do for yourself, anybody else can do. So you can even help others. Just like if you learn how to ride a bicycle, I'm sure you could teach somebody else how to ride a bicycle. And you know they're going to have to fall, right? And you know they're going to have to get back on and then fall a couple of times, and then they're going to get their balance. And then that's it. Now they can ride a bicycle. And now they can teach somebody else. Well, it's the same with this. You can figure out what your body needs to eat so that it is happy and healthy all by itself. And then you can figure out what emotions you have that are repressed so you can unrepress them and take them out so that you don't have to have any repressed emotions. And you'll feel so much better. And then the next step, which is what we're going to spend the next 2 days talking about, is all the stuff in the mind about all of these different things and about other things. But the primary thing is having a body that can touch its toes, can sleep well, can eat well, can hydrate, what it needs, right? Emotions that are cleared. So even if you just spend 40 minutes, an hour a day just clearing your emotions, you're going to clear 20 hours worth of emotions in 3 weeks. That's a lot. And sometimes you'll just find yourself just sad for 4 hours, 5 hours. Just be sad. Don't let anybody interfere. It becomes, you get to a point where it's very cathartic. It really helps release. I remember being at this party out in the desert, in the Mojave Desert out in California, and I found a pocket of sadness. So I pulled myself away from the dance floor and I sat under this rock in the shade, and I just cried and cried and cried. And a friend came up and saw me. Rafael, what's wrong with you? No, I'm fine. I'm just fine. But you're crying. No, I know, but I need to cry. I'm fine. But you know, no, leave me alone. Let me cry. I promise I'm fine. I swear I'm fine. I just need to cry. This guy's... And they're like, you're strange. I'm like, yeah, but I'm having fun. Oh, okay. Are you good? I'm good, thank you. I'm in the most beautiful place, and the stars and the sun. I'm crying. It's like, what a beautiful place to cry. And it came out, and then I was like, I'm not finished. Went back home, and following weekend, just spent the whole weekend crying. On purpose. And ate some yummy food. Got a massage. Feels so good. Want to eat good food? Get good massages, cry, and then go kill something that's dead. Just kill something that you're not hurting anyone, but let all the anger out. Right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
And for you, you might find that there's some depth to your anger, to your sadness, that might not come out unless you eat some meat. You eat some meat. You eat some meat. You may find that. So the only way to know is to experiment. Okay? Or not. It's up to you. If you're happy with where you're at, then you're happy. But the point is, being able to just wake up relaxed and happy, ready to have fun, create something, fall in love, play, do something. That's the basics of life. So missing out on that, there must be some reason. And if you're doing it to yourself, and it's just a question of some wrong ideas, some wrong beliefs, some repressed emotions, and a diet that can be modified, with those simple things, you could find yourself really blossoming beautifully. And then once you're clear, then you decide whether you ever need to, what you need to eat or not to eat. That can be determined in the moment. Okay? And I'm only presenting it as a menu of options for you. Okay? There's no, I have no vested interest. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not trying to sell you a hamburger, so it's not, that's not the point, right? But I know that there's some things that can get stuck that need to come out. So you may want to look into your relationship with food and how that actually, what's that doing to your body? Is it giving you what you need so that you can have a full range of life? Or is it somehow holding you back? And that's something that only you can figure out for yourself. The only way that I know how to figure things out is by trying. So I've tried all the diets. Vegan, raw, vegetarian, purely carnivorous, mixtures of things for up to 6 months at a time, just to see how it feels. And I know myself at different levels, and I know what I need to function in different environments. Because I tested it out. Not because anybody told me, just because it is what it is for this body. So I don't care what the Vedas have to say about it. I don't care what the Bible has to say about it. I don't care what Donald Trump has to say about it. I don't care what anybody has to say about it. Only this body knows what it needs to eat to be happy and healthy, and I keep having more fun in my life, and my life keeps getting better. So I'm going to keep doing whatever allows my life to keep getting better. Unapologetically, right? And the only thing I can do is inspire you to figure out, as a scientist, by testing, what will work. So a good plan for everyone is to simple vegetarian diet for a while, and then add one thing in, a little bit of chicken. Eat it carefully and process and see what comes up. And then a couple of days, back to your baseline vegetarian diet, right? This is something you can explore. Something you can explore if you're open to it. And then a little bit of fish, or a little bit of pork, or a little piece of beef. Quality. Nice piece of beef. You know, it's this big and it costs $1,000 because it's a good quality piece of beef. It's cooked just right. And you see what comes up. He's the cousin of my father's third wife. So I don't know. I have no idea how he relates to me, but he's a cousin somewhere. He's like and he comes to visit, and with his girlfriend, and Jantra makes a yummy dinner, and he declares, "Oh, is that chicken? I don't eat chicken." I was like, "Really? Why not?" He goes, "My grandfather never ate chicken, so I have never eaten chicken." I was like, "What? My grandfather doesn't eat chicken, so I never ate chicken." I'm like, "Wow, you're an idiot. I've never met somebody like that before in my life. That's why you don't eat chicken? Incredible. All right, so you want the pork? Yes, I'll eat the pork. Oh, okay. And the chicken? I will not eat the chicken because I heard you the first time. Just don't say it out loud. Stupid. Up to you. What do I care, right? So there has to be a good reason for things, right? So you want to find what works best for you. And then you'll know. Only you can know. The secret, once again, is to be a subjective scientist and not believe anything that I say, and just try out whatever you want to try out. Because whatever you do, if you can get a little bit of anger out, that's going to make a difference. If you can get a little more anger out, that's going to make a little more difference. If you can eat something that is a little more in tune and in balance with what your body needs, then your body is going to get a little bit better instantly. And you just go from there. Just go step, 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 step. If you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, and how it works on you, then you're free to live whatever way you like. Right? And the heading on your compass is towards a body that is more relaxed, more pleasure, less pain, more range of feelings, sensations, emotions that come through and then clear out. They don't stay. There's no residue. So you get angry, and then it's done. You're not angry anymore. You're happy, you enjoy being happy, and it's gone. Or something happens and you're unhappy, and you allow yourself to be unhappy. And you learn something about it. And then it's gone. And then you go back to this balance that's somewhere between being happy and unhappy. Somewhere between being angry, afraid, sad, confused. Okay? And you're in the balance. When you're exactly in the middle of that, you're in bliss. It's better than happiness. Happiness is great, but it's tiring. You can't be happy all the time. Remember with somebody who's always happy? I'm always happy. You're like, shut up. I knew this woman who was she called herself a bliss coach. And all she did was write these little mantras. I'm happy, we are happy, you're happy. Repeat. You have to repeat you're happy. I was like, I'm going to slap you across I'm so happy I'm going to slap you across the room, woman. And she was, no, you have to be happy. I am happy. I'm happy to slap you. Would you stay away from me? Because it was too much. I'm happy. I was like, come on. It's too much. Come on. Be happy. I don't want to be happy. I just don't want to be anything. Just leave me alone. I just want to be good. And it's great. Just right? Yeah. So let me add a couple of more details, and then I'll let you guys go if you want to process. So the other things I'm going to add about the body is let's talk about sleep. Because sleep is one of those things that people seem to have a hard time with sometimes. Do you ever have any hard time sleeping? Or are you good at sleeping?
Very occasionally. Most of the time I sleep.
You sleep well, easily? Yeah? Good. And you? You good sleeper? Okay. So sleeping is one of those things that's interesting because sleeping is, you can't do sleep. Sleeping just happens. Sleeping is effortless. You can't force yourself, I'm going to sleep now. You can't sleep. You just don't sleep. Sleeping happens when you're not disrupting your sleeping. So there's a couple of guidelines to make sleeping better. And they go like this. If I know that I have a lot of work to do on myself, like I'm going to start on a journey of mapping out my thoughts and my emotions, and I'm going to do a retreat, like what we're talking about, right? Then I would recommend making sure that I've eaten something at night. I have a dinner that's not too heavy. It's a medium-sized dinner, but that's also protein rich because I know that my mind is going to be working at night, and I'm going to be giving it instructions. So I want my nervous system to function. So I want to go to sleep with steady blood sugar levels. So I have a nice dinner and a couple hours before I'm going to sleep. And then my blood sugar is going to drop off and my body will drop into sleep. So that helps me sleep a little more smoothly. The other thing that happens with sleep is that an hour before falling asleep and an hour after waking up, our minds are going through different levels of hypnosis. And I'm going to discuss this when we go into the mind. And what happens is that our minds become susceptible, open, as we're falling asleep. So watching movies that are violent or angry, sad, intense, the news, phone calls with family or parents or loved ones or whatever that are challenging and difficult, it's better to turn your phone off about an hour before you think you're going to go to bed. Sort of unplugging yourself from the world. Does that make sense? And turning off your TV and not listening to, and just, no, there's nice music, right? Soft music, no words, just nice chill out music that you're listening to, right? Or there's a nice nature movie or something like that. That's okay. Game of Thrones. Yeah, Game of Thrones can be intense. There's some movies that can be a bit intense, right? People kicking and screaming and killing each other. It's a bit intense. They're fun movies, but it's not the first thing you want to turn on when you wake up. And it's not the last thing you want to see when you go to sleep. Because your mind will stop. When it falls asleep, it'll go on pause. And then you might have some dreams. And then it wakes up, it's going to pick up where it left off. So how you go to sleep is going to make a difference about how you wake up. So you want to be able to turn off the noise, well, the junk food, right? You've had a nice meal, you're not going to follow up with junk food. So you've been thinking about yourself. You've been working on yourself. You've been clearing yourself. Let that be what you're thinking about. Let your mind process that, right? Does that make sense? And there's two parts to it. Physically, when you go to sleep, there's a couple of things I want you to notice. First, it's really nice the last thing I like to do is I like to take a shower. Just a rinse with water. And it kind of washes away the day. Just like the first thing I like to do is take a shower. And I take many showers or I jump in the ocean. But before I go to sleep, there's something about washing away. And then laying down quietly, just laying there, and watching yourself fall asleep. Watching your body slow down, your breath slow down, and notice if you can watch yourself and stay present until you disappear. And then, when you wake up in the morning, noticing when you first become aware. For example, many times I wake up before my eyes open. I wake up and I know that I'm lying in bed. And I know that it's daylight because there's, it's brighter. Even though my eyes are closed, you can tell when it's daytime or nighttime when your eyes are closed or somebody has a light, right? So there's something about being able to just let your body, and you lay down and you straighten yourself out and you lay in the most comfortable position, nice, symmetrical. Breathe your nice, smooth breath. And it's very nice to do a soft form of breathing exercise number 3. And then let yourself fall asleep. That's a very nice way to fall asleep. Then you wake up.
Right when you go to bed?
In other words, let yourself shut down. Have a shutdown process, right? It's like some machines, you start them and you let them run for our generator, we start it and we let it run for a few minutes before we put a load on it. We don't just start and go. Like an old car. You start it and let it warm up and then you put it in gear. Right? It's cold, it's frozen, it's wintertime, you don't start your car and go, you start your car and you let it warm up a little bit. Meanwhile, you take the snow off the windshields and let it defrost, let it warm up. Then you start going. And you warm up slowly. Then it's time to shut off. Well, you don't just shut off a race car and just kill the switch. You stop and you let it idle and you let it cool down. So you want to give yourself a cool down process. And when you wake up in the morning, you want to give yourself a warming up process. Now, if you have, of course, to catch an airplane or you got to get to your 9-to-5 job, then you wake up, you have to get out of bed. But it's very nice not to have to set an alarm. And you stay in bed, and you wake up and you get up when you need to get up and not before. And it's very nice when you wake up to notice how your mind starts running. What you start feeling, what you start thinking, what you start remembering. The anger, the sadness, the fear, the anxiety, the curiosity, right? And to let yourself, if you wake up and you're already accelerated, don't get up out of bed yet if you can wait. Don't get out of bed immediately. When you wake up, see if you can just sit and just be lazy and relaxed in bed and let your mind slow down. And get up when you're clear. You're awake, you're relaxed, there's no thought, you're calm. Because our schooling system, our education system, what it does, and our work system, trains us to wake up and go. The alarm hits, you get up, you take a shower, you drink a coffee, you do this, you do that, you get in your car, you drive, and now you're at school, and now you're studying, algebra and calculus and physics and history and this and that, and now you're working, you're trading stocks, you're doing this, you're doing that, and it's like, and it's not, it's rough. So you're living on a beach, so wake up slowly. What's the rush? Watch yourself. Notice what thoughts come up. There's going to be fears that are going to come up immediately. Notice them. Write them down. You want to start mapping out how your body works, how your emotions work, where you're stuck. Not from a place of judgment. Not saying this is bad because I've got repressed emotions and I've got all these thoughts and my mind just doesn't stop and I've got these fears and I can't relax. Not that. More of, oh, how interesting. I've got these thoughts. Let's write them down. You're basically taking inventory. You just inherited a giant factory, a giant house, and you open the door and it's a mess inside and you're like, wow, okay, well, just start cleaning. Start cleaning up, start taking stock, start taking inventory of what you have. Where are you? I'm this old. I've got an ache here because I hurt my this. I've got this. I've got that. Right? And slowly, okay, I'm here. What can I improve? I have some anger. Okay, I'm going to learn to take out my anger. So I'm going to get the book and read the chapters and start doing the exercises and writing things down. And I've got thoughts about A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? Just start writing it down. When I eat these foods, I get more emotional or more sentimental. When I eat these other things. As an adult, I discovered some limiting beliefs I had eating junk food that my parents wouldn't let me eat when I was a kid. So I went and I bought it as an adult, and I just go into the store and I buy the bag of things and I just eat them. And it would remind me of something that happened. It just helps me complete my story. It helps complete my mind. Right? So that's the physical part. And there's a psychological part of going to sleep, which is that you're going to have dreams. And dreams can be used to clear your mind. Dreams are how your body naturally clears itself of extra content. So, you can write in a journal, in a little book, before you go to bed. What you do is you write down, and it's called your dream therapy script. And it goes like this. I'll just describe it to you, and then you can write it down. It has 3 parts to it. The first part, you're going to write something like this. Okay? And you can do it, you'll do it in your language, obviously, whatever language you think or dream in the most. But you basically want to say, tonight and each and every, I'll say it first and then I'll repeat it for you. Okay? So just listen. So here's what you're doing. You're putting an instruction. You're giving your mind a command. And the command is as follows. And it uses a technique called the sandwich technique. It's got 3 lines. The first line is, tonight and each and every night, I sleep peacefully. I rest deeply and peacefully. Right? Line number 2. In my dreams, I release, you know those ad-libs where you put like a little line and you can fill any word you want? So you say, in my dream, I will release, or I will release, I will vent, I will let go, or whatever words you use. My anger, my fear, my guilt, my shame, my insecurity, anything you want to let go of. And just focus on 1 or 2, the 1 or 2 most important things, whatever keeps coming up for you the most. fears or insecurities or sadness or shame or guilt or confusion about anything. Right? In my dreams, so tonight and each and every night, I sleep peacefully. In my dreams, I vent, release, let go my anger, my shame, my fear, my insecurity about my body, my mind, my mother, my lover, my money, whatever it is. That's sentence number 2.
Tonight,
I release, or I vent, or I let go, or I accept, right? That's where you ad lib. It's going to be one of those words: releasing, letting go, surrender, vent. And then what are you surrendering? Well, your fears, your insecurities, your shame, your guilt, your confusion, your obsession, whatever it is that you can't let go of, or you're having a hard time letting go of. In the morning, I awaken refreshed and relaxed, ready to have a great day. And you write that in cursive, in script, right? And then you date it and you sign it. That's the last thing you do, and then you either watch yourself fall asleep, or you do your breathing exercise, or you just lay still, and you fall asleep. If you have a dream that you can remember, the dream will come in 2 forms. It'll be a nightmare, a scary dream, an unpleasant dream, or it'll be a pleasant dream. Well, sometimes it's just a weird dream, right? Something. If it's a scary or unpleasant dream, train yourself to have this response to it. Oh, thank God I don't have to be afraid of the monster eating me. So you have your dream that a monster's trying to eat you, or you're stuck in a cage with a giant bug that's, an alien. Then you can wake up. The first thing you think of the dream that scares you, go, oh, good, I don't have to be afraid of that anymore. Because it's a venting dream. Your body is saying, you don't have to be afraid of this anymore. So anything negative that's coming out, and if you have negative dreams, it's how your mind, how your unconscious is trying to release it and let it go. So you accept that, and you acknowledge, and you go, oh, this is great. Now I don't have to be afraid of whatever it is that was in your scary dream. If your dream is a positive dream, like now you're flying, or you're in a magical place, or something beautiful has happened, then you can be grateful. Oh, thank goodness that I accept this now. I accept my freedom is growing. I accept that I can be free and fly. I'm finding my freedom. I'm finding my growth. This is what anchors the dream in. Click. Right? It's your conscious acknowledgement that you're either letting go of a fear, or you're accepting. You're getting rid of a poison, or you're accepting a honey. Right? And you're going to write this, every night for years. It's going to take years to clear yourself. But this will help you do it. Now, the thing about dream therapy is that people fall into basically 2 categories. Some people will feel something the next day. But you write it down one time, and the next day you'll feel like you released something. Most people, it takes like 3 days, 3 to 4 days before something happens. But for others, it takes a few weeks. It just depends on you. So whatever it is, that's what it is. Just like, I prefer Coca-Cola to Pepsi. I don't make a big deal out of it. If you offer me a Pepsi or a Coke, I'll take a Coke. I prefer actually just water, but if I'm going to have one of the colas, I'd rather have a Coke than a Pepsi. Right? And it takes me about 3 days for my dream process to go through. It takes other people takes longer. Right? Does that make sense? So you figure out where you're at. That's your dream therapy process. So you want to write this down. And everything you're discovering about yourself, whatever is scary or negative or incomplete, tonight in my dreams, I release this, right? I sleep well tonight, and then I release this so that I can awaken relaxed and refreshed. To keep going. And you sign it. First, how you breathe affects you, so pay attention to your breathing. Because it's oxygen, and, you need it to live, and you need the right amounts to be balanced. And how does it unbalance you? We'll do the breathing exercises and you'll know. Just hold your breath and see what kind of thoughts come up. Right? So that's number one. Number two, you need to be hydrated. Like any mechanism, if you don't have the right amount of water, you go down. You can have too much water, so you can die of water poisoning. But you need to drink like 10, 15, 20 liters of water, and that can kill you. So how do you test what your water levels are? Well, your skin should be tight. If your skin doesn't pop back, you could be dehydrated. But as soon as you feel a little tired, a little irritated, a little stressed, a little anxiety, a little confusion, you might simply need a glass of water. And now I got to these gatherings where people would be like, partying out in the sun, out in the middle of the desert, and people would start getting paranoid, and all you need to get them to do is drink a bottle of water. And as long as they trust that you're not trying to poison them, and they drink the bottle of water, they're like, oh, I feel so much better. Thank you so much. It's like, you just needed a glass of water. That's like 90% of disorientation, confusion, bad trips happen to people because they have gotten dehydrated and they don't know. Right? The other way to test it is to, every time you go pee, just look at it. And is it dark? Well, you need water. Does it have a strong smell? You need some water. It's too concentrated, add some water. It's too white, it's too clear, then you eat some veggies. Maybe you're drinking too much water. Or eat some vitamins and eat some vegetables. Right? Blood sugar levels. Steady blood sugar levels are stable. Whether it's fasting because you just woke up and you haven't eaten in 8 or 10 hours and you just stay that way all day. So then your blood sugars are stable and you can see how your mind works stably here. Or because you ate a balanced protein-rich meal that kept you stable for a couple hours, and then when it started going down, you ate another little bit, and that kept you stable, and it started going down, you ate another little bit, and that kept you stable, and it started going down, you ate another little bit, and you just keep doing that. You maintain yourself stable from the time you wake up till the time you go to bed. Nice, clear, smooth, stable line. Your entire body, your mind will work better. Now, a couple thousand years ago, our minds were crazy, lost, and confused. And you could go sit in a temple somewhere, and you would eat a bowl of rice or dal or lentils or whatever was given to you, and that would maintain very low baseline levels. You'd eat once a day, and your mind would work very simply. And mind was simple, so that's all you needed to resolve yourself. I cannot clear the more complex tangles and knots in my mind while fasting. I can clear the simple things in my mind. The complicated things don't come up when I'm fasting. Only the simple things come up. Because I'm fasting, I can only have simple thoughts. So I do a fast to see what my simple thoughts are, and then I do a high-quality, protein-rich, nice, stable, with the best quality fruits and vegetables and meats and chocolates and espresso, whatever I want. Nice, stable blood sugar levels, and I see how my mind runs 10 times faster, 100 times faster. But it allows me to work 10 times more, 100 times more, because I want to clear all my unfinished thoughts. Does it make sense? Yeah? Then, how I keep my body. Well, if I stay in a soft couch, slumped over all the time, I have problems. So I keep my posture. I keep myself balanced and aligned, and this keeps my body present. Right? Then I make sure to eat a little bit of a week of what my body needs, what I think it needs, because what it needs is a fact, and what I think it needs is an idea. And you have a choice. You can follow ideas or you can follow reality. There's a word for following ideas instead of reality. It's called idiocy. An idiot is somebody who follows an idea instead of reality. So choose reality. Go with reality. Whatever the fact is of what you need to do that. Following ideas instead of reality is always lose. Okay, because then you separate yourself from reality. Then sleep. Go to bed before you're tired. Just lay in bed and watch yourself fall asleep. Write down your dreams, things that you want to clear out. If things come up and you start getting confused and you want to stop your mind, do your breathing exercise, stop your mind. Then wake up. Balance yourself, align yourself. Get up slowly. If your mind races, stay in bed. Let it slow down. When your mind is clear, stop, your body's rest, then get up. You're going to have a much better day that way. Right? And then emotions. Well, your emotional freedom is when you're no longer repressed. You're not holding anything back. That's when you're emotionally free. So if you can create a space where you can eat the yummiest foods and have a nice place to sleep, a place to sit and meditate and stretch and do some yoga and sit in a hammock and go for a swim and go for a walk, something you can punch, something you can write down and tear up, and a place where you can safely burn, you can do that. And the more you do it, the more you clear. And if you give yourself 3 weeks to 3 months, you'll clear so much out. You'll come out of this a different person, a clear person. There's still some things that we're going to get resolved later on, but you've cleared out like the big chunk of it is going to come out, right? Does that make sense? And then what we need to talk about next, and that'll take it a while because there's a lot of information, is the mind. Because the mind is the trickiest, most amazing thing we have. When the mind is in charge, full of all sorts of contradicting ideas, philosophies, values, and beliefs, life is hell. It's a terrible master, especially when it's full of ideas given to you by other people. And if those people aren't the healthiest, happiest, then nothing to listen to. I don't take advice from people that are less healthy, less happy, less wealthy, less present than me. I don't go to a doctor that's unhealthier than me, right? Has spots, obese. Like, why would I listen to a doctor that you have to be healthier than me for me to listen to you about health? You have to be richer than me for me to listen to you about money? You have to be happier than me for me to listen to you about happiness, right? You have to be you have to be better off than I am for me to want to listen to you. So why would you listen to the voices in your head if most of those voices and most of those ideas are given to us in our childhood when we're too little to say, no, that doesn't make sense? And if we say no, we get slapped. So we're going to talk about this because about 80, 90, 99% of everything that you feel, all your behaviors, were imprinted unconsciously in the first 7 years of our lives. We imprint most of our life behaviors, ideas, our values. I don't eat chicken, or I'm a this, or I'm a that, without understanding what it means. Because, I don't know, it felt right. But we were 5 or 8. Think about it. If you needed to do that to make a major decision about how you're going to live your life, would you ask a 5-year-old or an 8-year-old? Or even a 10-year-old? Would you care what a 12-year-old? No, I think you should do this. I'm like, listen, I'm a little bit older and I'm going to figure it out myself, right? So at some point, you need to figure out what's going on. And I worked with a woman who said, I have this voice in my head that says I need to keep killing myself, so I keep trying to kill myself. I'm like, wait, stop. Why are you listening to that voice? So there's a voice in your head that says that you should kill yourself. What, change the channel? I can't change the channel. Well, ignore it. No, but it says I should do it. But it's in my head. I'm like, yeah, but listen. Listen to any song 20, 50, 100 times, and it's going to stay in your head, right? Right. So what if you were around other people that were unhappy and all they talked about was killing themselves, and then now you believe that you need to do it, and it's not your voice? Whose voice is it? Is it your voice? Oh, I don't know. You're right, exactly. Whose voice is it? These voices in my head telling me to do things, telling me that I'm crazy, telling me I should hurt myself, telling me that I should. I'm like, wait, okay, yeah, there's voices. We've all got voices. Should you be listening to them? If somebody tells you to go jump off a bridge, will you do it? But the voice is in my head. Well, what I'm saying to you right now is in your head right now. Otherwise, you can't hear it if it doesn't go inside your head. And if you repeat what I said to you, now it's inside your head, and now you're going to follow it? It doesn't make any sense. So you're going to want to start separating and going, okay, I've got these voices, I've got these ideas about my body, about emotions, about my mind, about life, about love, about sex, about money, about life, about death, about God, about family, random shit. What else? What else is there to think of? Money, business, politics, coronavirus. What else is there to think about? There's only so many different categories of things to think about. And you're going to notice that your mind is just thinking about these over and over and over again. And what if they're useless thoughts? My computer is full of these programs and these apps, and it keeps doing things. Well, why don't you delete the programs? Why don't you just turn it off, reboot it, restart it, delete the apps? It's full of these ugly pictures. We'll delete the pictures. I hate the songs on my iTunes. We'll fucking delete the iTunes. Like, just change them. It's your mind. It's content. You can change it. You're allowed to change your mind. As a matter of fact, I highly recommend changing your mind often. Just like you should change your underwear. Just like you should brush your teeth between meals. You should clean yourself between thoughts. Right? We're going to talk about that next.